In this lesson, we're looking at the collaborative team. And this professionals share the ideas and interventions and allow others to implement ideas that were traditionally implemented by a single professional. Idea 2004, we talked about the laws a couple weeks ago, mandates that evaluation, placement, and program and planning for children with disabilities must be carried out by a collaborative team that relies upon input from the various perspectives of each team member's expertise. The collaborative team's responsibility is to implement an appropriate education plan designed to meet the unique needs of the individual child who has a disability. Collaborative teams must be variously termed, can also be termed multidisciplinary teams, transdisciplinary teams, or interdisciplinary teams, or cross-disciplinary teams. So different names for all the same thing. Each team has its own unique mode of operation and share the common purpose of bringing a comprehensive range of expertise so the child with a disability can receive the best individually designed education possible. The main point of this is, as a physical education teacher and adaptive physical education teacher who works with students with special needs, is that the adaptive PE teacher is not expected to know everything. They're expected to have a good understanding of the disabilities and get to know the student, but who better than the experts in the school system to help the PE teacher and the adaptive physical education teacher. So when a PE teacher is trying to make adaptions, or anybody who's working with a student with special needs, they need to seek out the experts. Every school system has speech and language pathologists. Every school system has the physical therapists, occupational therapists, behavioral consultants. I know Knox County, we have people who specialize working with students with Asperger's and students with autism. So you're not expected to know everything. More and more these professionals who specialize don't really either rarely or not or really don't very often work with students. The main thing they do is help teachers who work with those students. That way, instead of a student having very many teachers, and what they do is the teachers. They have fewer teachers who know more and can specialize more when working with that student. So what the physical education teacher needs to do is find out who is the area expert in this and ask them. I like working for a big school system because we have, I can say at Knox County Schools, we have an expert on everything. We just need to find out who is that expert. Even when I worked for small school systems, we still had the OT, PT, speech and language pathologist, the SLP. So it's just about finding who is that expert and working with them. I think the best teachers know what they know and what they don't know and have no shame in admitting that. It's also very important that the physical education teachers conveys to other people that they are not physical therapists, they're not occupational therapists. A lot of people I found expect the adaptive physical education teacher to do physical therapy and to be a physical therapist, and they need to explain the difference and know the difference. And when the student needs that, or the parent needs information that comes best from a physical therapist, to send them in that direction. As far as the IEP team, it's all the above and more. It's really whoever can benefit the child in developing that plan. There's always the parent involved, the psychologist who determines does the testing. Special education teachers is a must. Around here, it's always special education teacher is the one in charge of the IEP, the case manager. If you were to get a master's in adaptive physical education, in theory, you could be a case manager, although it very rarely happens. For what we do in this class, you will not be the case manager. So it's your job to know how to read an IEP, not necessarily to know how to write one. There's always a general educator, and it's actually very common for a physical education teacher to sit in as the general educator. In a typical classroom setting, say a third grader, they have their general educator, and then they have their special education teacher, and then some of the other classes they go to. Well, there's still a few centers out there, such as Fort Sanders Educational Development Center, KAEC, Ridgedale. Well, there the student doesn't really ever see a general educator outside of the special areas. So a physical education teacher might be the closest they get to a regular education teacher. Hold on a moment. There's a humming sound. Sorry about that. The baby's monitor was going nuts there. As far as other things, if the student receives occupational therapy, then the occupational therapist will be a member of the IEP team, and then with that, a member of this collaborative team. SLP if they have it, a nurse if they have it, physical therapist, and here I put on the adaptive physical education teacher. So really, anyone who comes in contact with the student needs to be in the IEP meeting and sign the IEP. Occasionally, somebody will sign off on the IEP that is not able to attend the meeting, but they will still have to sign that they understand the IEP and will implement that plan. Conflicts can arise among team members as to who is to provide what service. The different professionals, they might have that conflict over who should primarily be responsible for delivering the different services. Varying attitudes among school districts range in how to read these, from aggressive to passive, with regard to the compliance with the law. I can say the school systems I've worked for work very hard to be compliant with the law. I know that as time goes on and lawsuits have forced some school systems into doing better, it's unfortunate when you hear about school systems that just don't provide the services, and unfortunately the parents don't know the due process they have the rights to. Some of the conflicts include time constraints on individual team members, including the size of the team members, including the caseloads. So if a teacher's too many on their caseload, the pecking order can cause a conflict. Potential for differential treatment among team members. It can be based on personalities, politics, respect and the self-esteem which each member's profession and expertise is held. And I've always heard stories, and I've heard many PE teachers tell me that they don't feel respected. They don't feel like a normal teacher when they meet with the entire staff. I can say in my 10 years of teaching, I've never once felt that way. And my belief is that, although it's possible some other teachers might look down on those, but when a physical education teacher treats themselves with respect and conveys themselves as a professional, they look, act, and talk like a professional, then that is conveyed to other people. And that's the exact same reason that every day I wear a pair of slacks and a collared shirt. Yes, I could wear a pair of nylon pants, or I could wear a t-shirt to work, and many good PE teachers do that. I choose not to, and I think that helps me gain respect by my peers. I also know that I spend $30 on a pair of khaki pants. It's the same amount of money I could spend on a pair of sweatpants, nylon pants. The polo shirts I buy cost the same as many t-shirts. So it's not that I'm spending more money, and I can and do move just as much as anybody else. I'll crawl on the floor with the little ones. I'll play basketball with the older ones. I mean, I am just as active as any other teacher. And I wear appropriate dress shoes, or appropriate shoes as far as tennis shoes, but I do try to wear. I always wear a collared shirt and a pair of slacks. I would only, I have been known to change if I know I'm doing something outside and very hot, but then I'll switch back into my collared shirt immediately after that activity, the same as the kids do. But I'll admit that's very rare that I have to do that. Working with parents are a member of that team. And that's where they really need to learn that role. What is the right for the parent? What's right for the teacher? I just talked to a parent just, 3 days ago, and it was sort of sad. The parent had just gotten their 4-year-old, or 3-year-old diagnosed with autism, and they were enrolled in a program with the schools. And the parent really didn't know how to help their student, and it's the teacher's role to help the parent do the services at home and be consistent at home. The teacher does a great job of implementing these plans in school and these behavior strategies and helping the student communicate their wants and this and that. But if it's not done at home, then you lose the consistency and therefore the effectiveness. So it's most beneficial for the child to ensure the parent is communicating with the student, the teacher, and the teacher is communicating with the parent. It's also, frankly, it makes the teacher's job easier. So it would be easier on the teacher if the teacher were to convey everything. As far as physical education, we need to do the same as well. It's our job, same as any other teacher, to communicate with the parents. We need to recognize and respect the parents were the child's first teachers, and such they bring many insights into the child's unique characteristics and needs. We need to recognize that during the majority of the child's waking hours, the child is observed by and under the influence of parents and immediate family. Parents and teachers must strive to treat each other in ways that engage mutual respect. Teachers' strengths in the partnership in his or her formal training and subsequent years of practical teaching experience. The parent's strength in the partnership derive from the intimate knowledge of the child's strength, limitations, personality, and home and family environment. We should all strive to avoid promoting the range of unhelpful stereotypes that teachers may harbor about parents and vice versa. It's a kind of an old known thing that the high school teachers blame the middle school teachers for not preparing them for high school. The middle school teachers blame the elementary school teachers for not preparing them. Elementary school teachers blame the kindergarten teachers and the preschools for not teaching them the basics. And then those teachers are blaming the parents for not providing what they need at home. It's always one of those, we're blaming somebody else. Well, as educators, we need to get away from that blame game. We need to stay away from blaming other people. We need to work in a collaborative environment where we all work towards a solution. One thing I do is I got a database export from the school system. There's a guy that works our school system's database with attendance and all that, and he gave me an Excel export. I put it into a $40 database program called Bento. It's not complicated at all to use, and I synced that database with my phone. And this took me less than an hour to do all this. I mean, really, I did it in about 15-20 minutes. And it cost me all of $40 on the computer, and I think it was a $5 app on my phone. And then on my phone, I had every single parent that I teach, and so I had the student, their picture, and the parent. I used the picture to memorize the names, and then I could call the parent. So so if there's a student that's not turning in their work, I can just pick up the phone and call them. I don't have to spend a lot of time looking up a number. I have a Bluetooth, so when I'm driving home, especially in the beginning of the year, I try to call about 3 parents a night and just say, introduce myself if I haven't met them yet, and then talk to them about how their kid's doing. I had a very surprising letter from a parent one time. We had these papers were done. I was not a phys ed class. I was doing a regular classroom, a STEM class, and I called a parent because I called the parent of the child who had the best paper in the whole class. I was very impressed. It was college level work. This is a sophomore in high school, and I just left a message on the answering machine telling how impressed I was with the project. I had a 2-page letter the next day from the parent, just appalled that that a teacher had taken the time to tell something their student had done was right. The only communication they had ever heard was whenever their student was doing something wrong, and was just very happy with that, and it just made their day. And so it made me know that communication with the parent is so critical, and since then I've just received nothing but good work from that student. As far as educating the parents, working with the parents, it's important to empower them. As I already mentioned before, it's critical you need to teach them and reinforce the classroom skills. This can be getting them into the classroom, whether it's a physical education classroom or a regular classroom, and training the parent that way. I have a picture here with 2 parents and a child with a ball, and you can tell that ball has adaptations to it. It's got real ridges. I had that same ball over at Fort Sanders when I was there, and it's a more engaging ball because there's that tactile feedback you get. There's little ridges that help the kids feel better. It might help them catch better. It also helps them stay engaged better, so there's definitely some benefits. That ball is a few dollars. I wouldn't care to send that home with a student. Hopefully they'll return it. If not, you're already out $3. It's not the end of the world. and but you teach the parents how to do it with that child. I mean, looking at this little girl on the screen, she's probably about 4 years old. So they might not be able to buy that kind of ball at Big Lots or at Walmart or at Toys R Us, but I have it from my catalogs. They don't really cost much, so I send it home with them. I teach them different activities they can do, and then the parents are doing that with the child. The child gets even more love for movement and for sport because they're doing it in my classroom. They're also doing it at home. Builds that home connection because the parents are doing something with the child, not just beside the child, not just watching TV with the child, but they're actually engaging with it. The parents are having fun, the kids having fun, and then they start introducing language during that time or whatever it is that student is working on in addition to their physical skills. Every aspect of that whole child will develop, and it could be as simple as teaching the parent how to play catch with their special needs child. And so you don't have to send them home equipment with them. It could just be teaching them how to do with what they have. PTA meetings, having a training. We are the experts in this, and so why not have a training at some of these PTA meetings on how to teach your child how to play ball. A lot of these parents, they might not know the technique or the build-up steps or the best way to do it. So the child's not just out there reinforcing incorrect skills. Why not have a little training or teach the parents how to make these adaptations? Ideally, there's a follow-up with the parent training. All right. As far as integration, what we need to look at is different strategies, because some of the schools we're doing our practicums at just have special needs kids. That's not the norm. It is not what you all are, the students in this class are being trained to do. Really, the students in this class are being trained to go into a normal physical education setting and make adaptations for the special needs kids. And hopefully your students will be integrated in with the public, so you'll have a class of students without disabilities with 1 to 2, maybe a handful who have some disabilities. Some strategies, station teaching, we've done that in class. Oftentimes you'll have more than one teacher in there, so you might have 2 teachers co-teaching. One is taking the lead, the other one is playing crowd control, doing assessments, helping out those who are struggling, giving challenges to those who are truly excelling. As far as station teaching, the first week in class, I hope I didn't confuse too many people. I told the stations, but then for the sake of time, we didn't actually act out the stations. So when I did that in that little multi-purpose room, once I took, less than 2 minutes to teach the 5 stations, then the students do the stations. It would have been at each station for 2 or 3 minutes. I would have used music, and then I would have paused the music. We rotate to the next station, then you do the next station. And sure, some kids are going to forget what each station does. So we have the posters. We also go to the kids that need a little extra support and help, and remind them what that station does. While we are doing that, it's very common, as I've said, to have you have 2 classrooms in there at a time, and maybe 3, and then you'll have 2 teachers. So only one of them needs to play the lead teacher and kind of giving the instruction, doing the overview. The other teacher, they can do the assessments. They might stay at one station doing an assessment the entire time. That's how I wrote up my lesson plan on that kicking from the first week. Also, they can buddy up with some of those that need a little extra support. As I just mentioned, really challenge those, differentiate the instruction. They can really specialize. They can also help get the crowd quiet and focused while they're doing the teaching, so that the lead teacher doesn't have to stop for behaviors. The second teacher can take care of those behaviors. Now, with that in mind, it is critical that the more experienced teacher doesn't always play the lead. Those 2 roles must be switched, and it's sort of easy. And I've been there in a situation where the lead teacher always taught the first class, and the newer teacher always taught the second class, and it doesn't work out well. Both teachers need to take the lead. Both teachers need to take the lead in all classes, and both teachers need to work together to write the lessons, and both teachers need input. So even if one person's more experienced, or one person has typically has a better grasp on this age group or this subject, both viewpoints need to be heard, and that's critical, and that's something where egos can get in the way, and we need to watch out for that. I think we've all been guilty of that. I've worked on both sides of that, where I've been a little guilty of that one myself. Okay, I just talked a little bit about this. Data collecting, definitely one teacher can do the data collecting assessment. One teacher can kind of sit back and observe, looking for trends and behaviors, trends and patterns, and make sure that the next lesson builds on that. One of the I don't know what to call it, the checkpoints on the team model was that the one lesson builds from the next. Observation, but also data to say exactly where the students are at, to make sure that the next lesson is a good starting point. Is there more review needed, or are we ready to just jump into the next skill in the progression?